session. Can I get a call of attendance?
Mr. Rowe?
Here.
Mrs. Robinson?
Here.
Ms. Manoff? Mrs. Lee? Ms. Schwartz?
Here.
Mrs. DeSalt? And Chairman Runge.
Present. I do have an excused absence for Ms. Manoff, Ms. Lee, and Ms. DeSalt. First item on our agenda is approval of the minutes from the August 16th meeting. Is there any, can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
First,
Second.
discussion about what is about to happen? All good?
Good.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Hearing none, minutes are approved. Public comment, we actually have an audience today. Hello. Would you like to introduce yourselves? Yeah, sure.
I'm Richard Baker, President.
Here, step up to the podium.
Thank you very much. I'm Richard Baker, President of the Pelican Island Audubon Society, and I thought I would tell you about two projects that we're doing that kind of relate to what you're thinking of doing.
Love to hear about it.
One is that we're starting a new project called 100,000 Trees for Life that we're going to plant in Indian River County. We're working in partnership with the ELC. We'll be the collaborators, the two of us, but we've got partners, the Indian River Land Trust, the Ocean Research Conservation Association, the ORCA group, is going to be involved. The county health department is very interested in this because trees make you healthier. And the UF Extension Service is going to be involved too and help training people how to keep their trees alive once they're in their yards and things. So, and we've got the Peterson Groves and some others that are interested that we're negotiating with now to be a part. We'll be applying for grants and things like that. To spearhead that, at our Audubon house, we put in a greenhouse to raise native plants for distribution in the county, and we're going to be installing a second one here shortly, which we're going to be used to grow some of the trees. We're going to be planting a lot of oak trees, some maples, but we're going to kind of concentrate on oak trees since they're the most. They help the birds the most with the caterpillars and things like that, and they're long-lived. We're talking about live oaks that live 150 years or something like that. So those are the two projects that we got going on, and I thought we would like to work with you all on this. If you'd want to carry on a conversation or however you want to do it with us. We also we had a conference last January at the Emerson Center, which is transforming landscapes for our future, and it was attended by 362 people. We had a lot of sponsors. We actually got $15,000 in sponsorship for it. We decided to have the second one. It's going to be at the fairgrounds. We're hoping to expand it a bit. It'll be on February 2nd. We're having a bunch of about 8 speakers coming in to talk about different aspects of it, from what kind of plants to plant, how to plant them, how to design it with the architect. We have a great architect coming in from the West Coast to tell people how to design their yards. We're trying to get rid of grass, so I'm interested in working with the cities on trying to remove as much or change or update our landscape ordinances as much as possible. We'd like to at least cut the lawns down to 50% than what they are now, and I'm actually aiming for about 10% of lawns if we could get away with that. But that'll save everybody a lot of money. I mean, you spend a lot of money cutting that grass. A lot of chemicals are going into it, fertilizers and things like that, and the money could be spent on maybe hiring people to do more work around yards. I mean, we're trying to have low maintenance. We're trying to produce yards that with natives they'd be happy in Johns Island, sort of formalized. They're not quite as beneficial probably for the environment, but there's a compromise in there. You want the yards to look good, and you can do it with natives, as I'm sure Fran knows. Thank you.
So I have a question for you. Where do you propose planting these trees?
Well, the Indian River Land Trust is is redoing a lot of lands along the river, and they were taking down Australian pines, and they're going to consume a lot of them. But we're going to be interested in getting them in schools. Schoolyards could use a lot more trees. Individual homeowners, we're going to be concentrated especially in Wabasso, Gifford, Fellsmere, to get some trees in these areas where they don't have much now. There's one development up in Sebastian that I went and visited the other day. It was a new development, and they were required to put in at least one tree, usually an oak tree in front of the house.
Yeah.
A 4-inch caliber tree, and all along the street, everybody had taken out their one oak tree and put in a queen palm. I thought that was pretty bad. Yeah. And I talked to the person that inspects their tree ordinance, and to see, well, they had the oak tree originally when it went in. But then there's nobody there really to check that. See, they pulled it out and they want their palm tree in front of their house. So we're going to try to get everybody to plant a tree in Indian River County.
I think that your program has great merit. I think
Yeah,
we
I
can
do.
give you a vote of confidence, but we're faced with one constraint. Our funds can only be used to plant on city property. We can't fund planting within a county or a subdivision or a private residential home.
We are going to be growing as many of these oak trees from acorns as we can, because we think that the smaller, we'll be putting them out on almost bare root or small. They grow over a 4-year period. They will pass a 4-inch tree that's been in a pot. And the pot trees cost somewhere from $50 to $65 for an oak tree in a pot, but we're going to try to cut the price down where there'd be maybe a couple of dollars for a small tree.
I want to say that this commission did that years ago. I remember Carl Zimmerman and them selling trees for like $1 or $2. I think I'm telling you the right thing, from the seedlings.
Yes. That's one of the reasons we're using our greenhouses for, is to keep squirrels and other things eating these.
Right. Yeah.
I've planted a number of these acorns, and they get up to a certain height, and the squirrels get into them, and they like those acorns too. So that's why we're having the greenhouses. One of them is going to be exclusively for the oak trees, and the other one's going to be for native trees. We don't have any really native nurseries here. Some are beginning to plant a few more native trees, but we're going to try to have a nice nursery going where people can come and get trees at a reasonable price, and maybe that would kind of force some of these nurseries we have in town to maybe be competitive with us, and we'd love to have them outdo us and take over. Yeah. So it's not really a money-making deal. It's kind of try to get the community to think more in native plants.
Well, I commend you for your effort, and it's a huge undertaking. 100,000 trees definitely is, but I have to say, too, that we've done research on this board, and it does prove that in urban areas, trees are safe places for people, and it makes the community come more together. So, I mean, any dialogue that we can have for this commission, I know Chris is right, we can't, our boundaries are limited, but I'm open for any dialogue.
I'm not actually asking you for money, but
right.
Your moral support,
yes,
I guess.
Absolutely, yes.
In that, and you can have examples. I know one of the councilors is interested in getting native trees on county or city properties here.
Absolutely.
And we should encourage that and get rid of turf. Like I saw, this would make a nice garden right in front of here that you have.
So we'll have a Florida xeriscape.
Yes, right.
I'm with you. I don't want to cut the grass either.
Trees, we need oxygen. I mean, actually, trees, we wouldn't have any oxygen here if it wasn't for plants. Right. They're the ones that we had, Earth at one time had no oxygen, so we forget that, I think, that we need that. And we're losing our citrus trees, too.
Oh, yeah.
Thousands of citrus trees are being pulled up now around here, and they're getting totally out of the business. That's going to affect our weather here.
Yeah,
because those citrus trees were actually, cooling the planet and doing other things besides producing oranges and grapefruit and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've been here since the 70s, and that's all it was citrus. That's why we came here. And it's kind of sad, but it's growth, they say, quote unquote. No, but I'm with you.
Good, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any further public comment? Moving on to the next item is new business, and the first item on the list is wording for the Centennial Tree Plaque. You each have in front of you item 4A. And Rita, could I get you to read the document?
What Maryland has submitted for the plaque for the Centennial Tree at Nagoyim Park. In celebration of the first 100 years of the City of Vero, we honor the citizens who made it possible and vow to continue their legacy of dedication and commitment.
Any comments?
Is there a reason it doesn't say beach?
Because it wasn't, I think.
I just took what she submitted, and we can actually add that in if that's, if you guys want to make recommendations.
I was thinking she didn't because of the when did it actually get named Beach, Vero Beach?
Oh, it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't in the original.
No, the original name
added
was
Bridget
Vero.
later.
Vero.
Was
Right,
Vero.
that's why I wondered if that's
Okay.
why she did it as far as the historical side,
Yeah.
but I mean, we could look into that to see if I'm saying the right thing.
Knowing Maryland, it's probably.
People will scratch their heads.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. I'm sure Maryland did it completely intentionally because the City of Vero Beach,
Didn't come into being until after the fact.
after that.
Well, then we could put in brackets Beach.
What I would like to suggest is that we wait for her to
Right, well,
return to
that's,
the
yeah,
next
I was
meeting
just-
so
you
she can
just
have
read
her
my mind.
input.
Yeah, I was thinking the
So
same
we're going to
thing,
table
yeah.
this item until the next meeting. Next item would be 4B, volunteers for Centennial School Tree Dedications. She's created a nice spreadsheet, and we would like to see if who would come out. So we've got until October 22nd to make your mark. So what I would say is to each of you, email back to Rita the time that you can possibly attend and help out.
Okay.
That way she can
Yeah, they were
coordinate
looking
the
to have
efforts.
at least one city staff member or city council member and a tree commission member available. Marilyn made a comment that she was going to be at the high school and all of the, was it the charter schools that she was going to?
I didn't read the whole
On her
thing.
email.
Oh, it says right here, I shall attend all charter and private schools in the Vero Beach High School dedication.
So it should be at those at
Okay.
least. So if there's ones that work with your schedule,
Okay.
if you, or a whole day, it's
Okay.
up to you, but just let me know and then I'll fill in the gaps.
Okay.
Doesn't mean that more than one of you can't be there, but I think they were just looking for one representative, but
If we're both there, we can't chat with each other.
I would
though.
just,
You can chat with each other, just not about anything
what's going on.
that may
Right.
come back before this board
Correct.
for
I would
discussion.
suggest that you stand on opposite sides.
Well, we've done it at the Arbor Day and stuff, so we're,
Yeah, well, that's a duly called
Right.
meeting.
wave.
okay.
So take this home, peruse it, get back to Rita with the times that you'd like to attend, and she'll put down the schedule and get it back to Maryland. Old business. Item 5, update on the Cultural Arts Tree Village. And we do have people here this morning who are going to give us an update.
Yes.
Thank you, Neil.
Yes.
Good morning, Neil Sichterman with the Cultural Arts Village, 955 33rd Avenue, if that's important. Yeah, we had some good news. We've been coordinating with the various city departments, water, sewer, public works for quite a few months to try to get the permissions and the exact infrastructure conflicts for our trees within the corridor. And all that finally got resolved, and the staking was done so we could identify the exact water lines that would potentially be a conflict. We created a layout that worked for them and us, avoiding those conflicts. And yeah, as of Monday, they gave us permission to proceed. Additionally, for the same budget that was agreed upon, we've secured the trees, and I know we were not intended to actually put any deposits down until we had the permissions, but the landscaper who's partially volunteering his efforts, he took it upon himself to secure them so that they wouldn't go missing and cause us to not be able to proceed. And his thinking was if the project didn't go through, he could always sell them. So that worked out great. We've got the trees we wanted at the proper size, the city permission, and now the landscaper is just looking at their schedule to fit us in well in advance of the November 10th ceremony so that the trees can be installed by that date.
Excellent. Do you think when you get an installation date, you could email Rita so maybe we individually could come out and put our eyeballs on the process?
Definitely. Yeah, certainly.
Some of the soil.
Right, take some dirt.
So, some of the only caveats the city gave us was not planting on Saturdays in case a water line was struck, so that they could react to it.
Yeah.
The other caveat was hand digging with shovels, no machinery, and root barrier around each tree, completely around it, so that we wouldn't be, roots wouldn't potentially do any damage to the street or the water main.
Excellent.
Yeah, well, they cracked a big nut getting that guy putting the deposit down.
That was very helpful.
That's huge.
And it'll be done in time for the dedication for the centennial.
Right.
I work with this landscaper very often, and he and I can make things happen very quickly. He's got a lot of resources, a lot of crews, and this is a lot of prior notice for him. They can get things turned around in a matter of a week or two when we need it urgently.
Oh, that's huge. Yeah.
Are there any deviations from the sites you showed me?
No, it is that full size, and I got
not the size, but the site where you were actually
the
put
site
the tree in the ground.
I believe when I was showing you, it was the south side of the street, and they ruled that side out. That used to be considered the safer side of the two, north and south. And now they've told me north was preferable after they really studied their infrastructure maps.
Which is probably preferable because there's no tree canopy on the north side of the street.
Virtually none. Yeah, there's a few, but they're such substantial trees when they do exist that they're well over the clearance. And otherwise it's the exact same pattern from the north to the south. They're mirroring each other. So greater pains were made after you and I met to make sure that the rhythm of trees was avoiding all of the various, not only alleys and streets and site triangles as they previously were, but also all the driveways, which originally did not occur on my base maps, but when we met out on site, I realized, some of these driveways don't look familiar, and then I had to rearrange.
Do you think that you could submit a revised plan so we have one for our records?
Certainly.
That would
Definitely.
be just part of the paper trail.
Okay.
And then again, note to Rita so we could come out and wave hello when you put the trees in the ground.
Yeah, I'll give you I hope to find the install date out in the next day or two, so I'll forward that on to you, and I'll definitely give you the drawings today.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Sure thing.
Congratulations.
Good job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good job.
Okay, next item is Oh, you can go.
Yeah, let Barbara talk.
I'm sorry, I thought I didn't see.
I'm sorry, as usual, I have the Bob Seuss interview at 9 o'clock, and that's why I always walk in a few minutes late. But we are really, really pleased, and now the date is definite. It is November 10th that we are going to have the crowning ceremony and memorial dedication to the trees. And so I will be working, I can't remember the name of your committee. You are the one. Fran, I will be giving you a call. You and I need to meet now with those residents in the village Beach that put on events and so forth, and we'll work through that. And also with Neil, we want to make sure that we get the plaques correct that you want, on the trees and so forth. So we're really excited. Bev Paris, who is doing the photography for the Centennial, wants the date so that she can come in and get lots of pictures as well. And we want a lot of publicity on digging the first hole for the first tree. Great. So now that it's done and it's confirmed, we're moving ahead fast.
And what's the time for the November 10th?
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much.
It's our honor.
Yes.
Any more discussion on the cultural arts tree planting?
I think it's excellent. It all came together.
Yes.
Yeah.
They've worked incredibly hard.
What plaques?
I don't think there are. I don't know of any that go on the trees.
Okay.
Barbara, could you fill us in? You mentioned that there would be plaques on the Simpson stoppers.
Are there plaques going on the stoppers?
Here.
Yeah, set back up.
I'm not sure what the specific agreement is, whether there would be plaques or not, but I did look into options to put medallions in the sidewalks, for example, and I thought that would be a smart approach.
I just thought I missed something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. What would the medallions stipulate?
The medallions, I looked into the installation method. It takes a particular type of drill bit and a particular type of adhesive. They're custom made, and each one could be labeled a certain decade
okay, I see what you're saying.
Vero Beach.
That's a good idea.
Mm-hmm. There was certain costs associated with those, of course, and
of course.
Right.
yeah, so that might be a very
So
elaborate.
should we know that, or should we not know that?
That might be a very elaborate means of creating plaques. There's also, there could be something as simple as little placards that go in front of each tree, which would be substantially cheaper, easier to install. So I can chase down these kinds of options and confer with this group if you'd like.
Do you have off the top of your head what those expensive placards are? I mean,
I believe the expensive ones, and that's assuming volunteer labor, was going to be approximately $500 for 10. For all 10, and that included purchasing the specific drill bit, the adhesive, and getting all these custom medallions manufactured. So yeah, I think that the medallions were approximately $60 each. It was actually the drill bit that was the very expensive portion. There was two different components to it, and the adhesive.
Flush.
Yes, flush. I mean, I think it's less than a ½ inch raise, but it's beveled, so there's no kind of hard edge to trip on.
I think that's the way to go, and maybe your friend at the landscape could hook you up with that drill bit.
Possibly, and I work with many contractors, not just landscape, but general contractors. So I've done for a previous tree installation, I borrowed lasers from them. So it's very likely I could scare up.
Yeah, I'm just throwing that seed
and then
out,
the cost would come down by half at least.
Yeah, one of the issues is we can't buy plaques, I don't think. If you read it says we can buy trees.
What size are the medallions?
Yes, so we need to know.
The medallion diameter is approximately 2 inches.
Here's the clarification.
But they came in a range, and of course, as you got bigger in diameter, it became more expensive.
Because it says solely for the removal of invasive plants, purchase, relocating, and planting or maintenance of trees and palms on public property and right-of-ways within the city. It doesn't say plaques.
No, that would be something that they would have to.
Right, you'd have to get funding for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but still, I mean, that's not that much money. I was thinking thousands, personally.
Oh, no, unfortunately, I was kind of cringing when I heard that number because it was just more money to throw into the budget. But yeah, compared to thousands, it is inexpensive.
Yeah. But that way you don't have to worry about damage, hurricane, it's flush, it's not going to break
Get
off.
somebody to sponsor it.
Right,
That'd be the
yeah.
obvious answer.
I think that's pretty likely that we could find someone willing
Yeah.
to participate.
Yeah, I think that's the look to go and the way to go, personally, I think.
And longevity, because all the little flimsy guys, it might be okay for a botanical garden where everyone's respectful, but in public space, you
Oh,
need
no,
something
yeah.
bulletproof.
Yeah.
As long as they're vandal-proof.
Okay, so perhaps you and I could coordinate on the installation because we'd be, drilling into the sidewalk and you'd want to know all the particulars.
Yeah, that would be something that would need to be coordinated with Steve Fuller,
Okay,
streets manager.
Sure.
Absolutely, yeah.
I'll speak directly to him.
Yep, yep.
Okay, and yeah, that's it for the monuments.
Thank you very much.
The plaques, rather.
And keep us in the loop, we want to be there.
Yeah.
Certainly I will.
Yes.
Okay, item B, revised tree giveaway project timeline. I gave this some thought after the last meeting,
Okay.
and the simplest solution is to get rid of the voucher completely. Make it a first come, first served basis on the day of the tree giveaway. So item 5B, you have the skeleton of the timeline. Take away the voucher and make it first come, first serve on the basis on the beautification day of February 9th. Get the vendors to commit, not say, well, we might do, but commit to 10 trees and invite them to attend at the giveaway so that they still have a presence at the giveaway, and we're not doing the heavy labor of lifting the trees and loading the trees and all the, I guess you'd say, logistics that go with the project. Giveaway on Saturday, either at the Vero Beach Police Department parking lot or the City Hall parking lot, because most of those will be empty on that day. And then any remaining trees left over from the project could be donated by the vendors to be put in city parks or public lands.
Right.
What size are these gonna be?
Right, that's
3 gallon.
Oh, I can't plant anything that small. I mean, look, we don't usually put in things that big. We have minimum 15-foot, 4-inch caliper, just because we don't.
I know a gentleman that's sitting in the audience.
That's what I was just going to say. We can just donate.
That the vendors-
We stay away from trees that are that tiny.
Right.
Yeah, it's just.
So it's just a thought, because you
Right.
might have 10 trees left over, 5 trees left over.
What were you talking about, oaks?
Oaks, I think it's listed in the other letter.
There was 2 of them on there.
There are 2 trees,
Yeah, well,
oaks
I
and
can't
the
remember.
Simpson stoppers.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
And in the minutes of last
Yeah.
meeting, it said you talked about adding
Yeah,
a third.
and that, well, it's up to, the
Up to
third
the
one
vendors.
was the
Okay.
bald cypress.
Oh,
To try to get in as many people as possible that
Okay.
wanted the tree.
I could work in the soft stoppers, because I have some areas that we were,
Along the beach. Somewhere.
no.
She has
We
secret
have master
places.
plans that I could
Secret
work those
places.
in.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, this is, like I said, a skeleton for discussion.
Okay.
Take it home, peruse
Okay.
it, pour over, and at the next meeting, we can make a decision.
I think that you took a lot off the table of,
Burden.
right, to
Yeah.
streamline
Because there
it.
is no burden.
Right.
The real burden of this project now is announcing it to the public and getting it approved by the city council.
Right.
That way, there's no having to come to the city hall. They still get a chance to meet and greet a city resident. The vendor still has an opportunity to meet a potential client. For their donation of the tree, they get something back, and it takes out the logistics.
Right, because that's what your big,
What's the logistics of the project?
well, that, and plus you wanted the people to see what the city is doing.
Correct. I want to be good public.
Hands-on.
Good public PR for the City of Vero Beach. So take it and bring it back up at the
Okay.
next meeting.
Lot of homework.
Item 5C, update on the 100th anniversary. I would say we wait for Marilyn to come back and give us an update, because
Right.
she's the pro on this subject, so we'll table that for the next meeting. Treasury report. As of the 20th September 2018, in the tree replacement and mitigation fund, we have $51,090.30. And in the tree dedication and planting fund, we have $769.21. Any comments on that?
We're doing,
Except we want to spend all that money.
Yeah, we do. We have to figure out, we haven't, well, Marilyn was looking into, what was the wording that was changed in 2011 or 2013?
That was me. Would you like to bring us up to speed on that?
Did I step over, or I should have
No,
waited?
it's not on today's agenda, but while we're on the subject.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking.
I'll tell you what, we'll bring that up under Chairman's Matters. I asked Stephanie if she could define for us the difference between planting and installation of a tree.
And I asked Nanette, and we really could not come up with a clear delineation or a difference or understand why that change was made. Perhaps it was housekeeping, perhaps maybe the terms are duplicative. So
And what I seen was that it was when they redid the ordinance with the Planning and Zoning Board and stuff, for some reason that word was just taken out, and
And the reason I ask is because
no wording about it that I could find why.
when you plant a tree, there's a lot that goes into planting the tree. Not just the purchase of the tree, you're paying for the trucking, you're paying for the machine, you're paying for the labor, paying for the fertilizer and the backfill, and the staking of the tree. And one of the questions we came up with was, why couldn't we pay for the water? If we're paying for all those other ancillary items that go into planting a tree, so we still don't have an answer, do we?
the way I interpret these sections of the code, I don't see that installing, boring a water line and a meter really fits into what the tree planting ordinance, how it's defined. However, if you would like to propose changes to the ordinance, that's your prerogative. They can be changed. It would require...
And the only reason I suggest it is because it would broaden our scope and ability to install a tree.
It would do that, sure, if you propose changes to incorporate the water line, the boring, the payment of the meter, and the city council goes for it, we can come up with a rewrite here.
And submit to city council.
It would be their decision to...
Well, one of the reasons I suggest this is to relieve a burden on Nanette's crew because of always having to have a water truck to put a tree in. Where if we had possible locations for planting, such as that large triangle island.
Well, and it's not, honestly, it's not that. I'm telling you, no, Chris, we're not going to plant trees there because I don't have the manpower to do that. So it expands the ability to put the trees in those areas because honestly, you want to give the trees all the opportunity to flourish when you put them in these areas. You know, when you start putting them in and you don't have that infrastructure to give them proper water, I mean, you know, we can, you know, in a perfect world, if I had the opportunity to give them all of these trees the water that they need, for all of the amount of time that they need, even when we go into the drought area times, you know, when you have to go back to them because we have 3 months of no water, you know, it sure is nice to be able to just flip the switch on the drip.
And see, that's the goal.
So you know, it really limits your scope when you don't have that ability. You know, when you're talking about, oh wow, I've got 30 trees I've got to go out and water. You know, we just don't have that ability. So it limits those areas. And then you're sitting there with these pieces of land that you just, gosh, I want to put a tree there, but I can't. So, you know, I think you're left with the only option is to go back and ask this council, can we rewrite this?
So that it contains some language that says, and the associated infrastructure for the planting of the tree to facilitate.
I mean, because it's not going to be this whole scale where we need to put stuff everywhere. It's just in these areas where it's applicable. There's airport properties that we're not going to be able to do that because we don't have jurisdiction over that. It's very, and I don't know if we even need to call out the areas. I don't know if we need to be that specific, if we need to map them out so that we can say where they are, if we need to be that.
Oh, you mean to change the wording and to say this is exactly where we're going to do it? I wouldn't limit it to that myself
I would leave
personally
it
at all.
wide open.
I mean, yeah, I would leave it open. I have a
Unless
question.
the council asked for
Correct.
that information,
Yeah.
but even still, we wouldn't have to write it into the ordinance. It could be something that is part of this project.
Right, because then you'd have to rewrite it down the road and say, okay, now we're over on Blue Street, and that Blue Street wasn't written in that, now we got to do this over again. So I have one question that's kind of, I guess it's to you, Stephanie. So the way the wording is, would you say it's an understanding that when you put a tree in the ground, you collectively know that if you're going to put it in the ground, that stuff's already available, otherwise you wouldn't put the tree in the ground?
But it does say maintenance of the tree. So in essence, we could actually fund the maintenance of the tree after it's installed and sort of to pay additional labor as required to the City of Vero Beach. Is that correct? Because it does say maintenance.
I just think that if we want to rewrite this to
I
make
think
it
rewrite it.
clear,
Yeah.
No gray area.
we don't
Yeah,
want the gray
no, yeah,
areas.
yeah.
And then we're bickering every week about, or every month about what the interpretation is.
Right, and I don't want to
Because
do
some
that.
people may say maintenance is pruning.
Right.
Or
Well,
mulch.
maintenance is
or
everything
mulch,
that falls
whatever.
within the title of maintenance. It could be everything from pruning to watering, fertilizer.
That's why I was asking you if it's like an understood thing.
Yeah.
You know, and people are, it's so gray.
Sure.
It's like,
legal
what's
terms,
understood?
nothing's
Sure.
understood.
Yeah.
In my mind, it's understood if you're going to put a tree in, it has
You gotta
to
water
Yeah, you
it.
have to have water.
Right.
You have to, otherwise you're not going to put it there. I mean, hello? I mean,
Well,
yeah.
as chairman, I would like to make the charge that this item comes up on every single agenda until we get an approval by
Yeah,
the city
definitely.
council to rewrite the language.
I agree.
Well, what we would do from here is you would suggest to me what terminology you would like to be amended,
Okay.
and I understand your directive. I would bring this back to you for your review and consideration, and then at that point, the city council would consider it. This is an ordinance, so it would take 2 readings by the city council before it's approved, but I understand that I saw this coming, so I can certainly make an attempt here to rewrite this with whatever directive you give me. I believe that's more the cost associated with,
Installing the tree.
right, but let's be more specific.
Okay.
If possible, because it's not just about installing the tree, it's about
Establishing.
watering the tree, it's about grinding and removing stumps before the tree even gets there. So these are all issues that keep presenting themselves, and I believe you want to broaden the scope
Yeah, definitely.
of this ordinance.
Because, for instance, when we're doing the Victory Boulevard,
Yes, the
we're
preparation of
taking
the
out
site.
the existing laurel oaks,
Right.
grinding the stumps.
Right.
So you're preparing the area, you're installing the irrigation that's appropriate.
Right, it's not just cut and dried. That's what I'm saying. There's a lot of understanding going on, and it's not worded.
I have a question, if I may. If this ordinance exists in this way, isn't there like another ordinance somewhere that water and sewer or whoever controls the water is going to support, our efforts? They're going to have to budget that kind of money because we're talking about money and expenses and all this. So
We're talking about your money.
No.
Right, our money.
I know. But if right now we don't have that money. We don't have that money to pay for the install, right?
Well, we
We
do
got
if we
$51,000.
can change the ordinance. That's what we're
Yeah,
talking
so
about.
if you have,
we just
the
don't.
budget that's there,
Right.
the $60-something thousand dollars is there.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
So if it costs, let's say $15,000 for a meter
Yep.
and a couple grand for the irrigation, then, and $5,000 for the tree, that whole in its entirety would be what it would cost to do that tree installation, that
Yeah.
water,
Right.
that
I'm
irrigation
with you,
installation.
but I'm just thinking that there should be some like interdepartment support of one another. Like water and sewer would be here to support initiatives or things we're going to do.
Water and sewer is a business.
Right. Water and sewer is an enterprise
As
fund.
grounds
It's a
maintenance.
utility company.
As
right?
grounds maintenance, I'm a customer. I have to pay
For
water
water.
and sewer as a business for all the water that I use.
You don't get it
I'm
for
not,
free.
I don't get a freebie because I'm a city
So-
division. I'm a customer like any other
like
homeowner is a
me.
customer.
Okay, now I
There's
understand. So wouldn't you then, but your budget doesn't support us?
My budget, because a tree is planted and new meter is installed, my budget will go up.
Right.
Because you have to pay for the
Because I
water
have to pay for this water service.
and to maintain the tree.
Yeah.
But, part of this,
But that's okay,
Yeah.
the irrigation that we'll put in will be a bubbler. It's a one-time fee that's going to
Yeah.
be paid for by that mitigation fund. That's
Okay.
not impacting my budget. That's that mitigation fund that everybody that takes a tree down pays into.
Right.
What's going to impact my budget will be every time that bubbler goes on, it drips out water. It's minuscule.
Yeah,
So
I'm with you on all that.
That's the only impact to my budget.
My only concern was rewriting or adjusting laws or ordinances. Rather than going in and adjusting something that's already been done, couldn't we just come to you and, why wouldn't, I guess we'd just be able to work this out internally rather than adjusting a new law? A law that's already in the books.
Because right now, we can't put a meter in under that, we can't use those funds.
It is the
that are
funding.
sitting there in that
I don't want to use our funds. I want to use your money.
it ain't gonna happen. I don't
Okay,
think.
all right. But rather than writing a law, rather than adjusting a law, why couldn't we?
I don't have that money, because when you're putting a meter in, it costs, thousands of dollars.
Get paid
I
the
don't have that
impact
money.
fee.
Yeah, because that's
And
why
water
we
and
can't get
sewer
it
won't
done.
install a meter for free.
Right.
The
Yeah.
other side of this is taking a property that's vacant and void of public use, and by installing that meter, it becomes a potential public park with water fountains.
Well-
and becomes a more usable space because we planted one tree and included in it the installation of the meter.
And the other thing is, we have to have a discussion with, that particular piece of property that we're talking about. I need to have a discussion with my boss. We need to have a discussion with the Theater Guild, because they use that, we're still talking about where they
No,
park,
we're
right?
talking about that little triangle which has curbing on it.
Okay.
Nobody parks on
We're not
that
talking
triangle.
about the big one.
No, we're talking about the little
Okay.
end, the west
So that's
end
okay.
of it.
Okay. But when we start talking about the big one with
Well,
the
the
Theater
big-
Guild park,
yeah.
we need to make sure that we're mindful of how they use that, because they park there. But I mean, I think that it's a good place to lay out.
Oh, they huddle like camel under the 5 trees that are there. I mean, it's like
to lay out
obvious.
trees so that you can
Right.
park underneath the
That's
rows.
bad for the
Yeah.
trees
Yeah.
as well.
My concern is exactly what you touched on, Chris, and we're kind of in an environment right now where the city council is very sensitive to land ownership and management, and I just don't want to hit a hornet's nest.
Let's see, let's kick it.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah, we're going to
Right on.
We have all through McCanch Park.
I'm good for that.
All
Let's
through
go.
McCanch
Yeah.
Park, all the little west islands.
All those little
have
cul-de-sac
yes.
islands.
And most of those, the homeowners have stuck trees in.
I've seen that.
Yeah.
Wait, those
They
are those
died.
poincianas we didn't plant. That was the homeowners going out there and sticking a poinciana.
There's one where the road
And
joins
watering
into
them.
Victory Boulevard, there's a little tiny oak tree. It keeps growing and dying.
Yeah.
I'm ready to kick the hornets. now.
I'm all for it. I just want to have discussion.
We
That's
got
all.
to get this going, because our hands have been tied forever with this.
Oh, certainly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
And,
you have.
there's no sense
wanna
having
plant
money
trees.
that you can't use.
Right. We want, and
But someone will come along and spend it for you.
yeah, there'll be something.
And what's,
We
you
want
can't have
trees.
trees without water.
Right.
No, you can't.
That's right.
So,
And like I said, this is going to open up more public space. By putting in that meter, not only do you plant the tree, you improve the characteristics of the community, you invite people to come use the space.
And we need to publicize that. We need to get the public
Would you like
behind
to
us.
be our PR guy?
I'll help with that, yes.
Yeah.
Because that's
We're
key
trying
to
with
stuff
that,
like this,
yeah.
getting public public recognition.
I think,
So I'm going to give you a challenge,
Some kind of appeal.
Stephanie.
She
You've heard
does this kind of
educational
stuff in her
things.
sleep.
Right. She's already got this done. We know.
She does. She probably did half of it already.
Yeah, so what our goal is to be able to purchase the infrastructure that it takes to get a tree in and provide long-term care, which is under maintenance, but we need to get this specifics down to include installation of a water meter, supporting water lines, directional bores if required to cross streets, and any permits that are required as well. The less gray area, the
This
better.
one's easy. She worked on the cemetery one. That one was the hard one.
Yeah, okay. Well, plus another thing too is to plant a tree is one thing, to install it, but what about the establish it? I mean, it has to take a year
For so many of them
water.
die, I agree.
Yeah, I mean,
That's maintenance.
just put it in the ground
Well,
is
that's
one
why,
thing.
and we water them, we go out 3
Right.
days a week. It's a lot of work. It's not,
No, I see him all over the
sure.
place. It is a lot of work.
and it's one guy.
It is one guy.
So this is going to come up on our agenda next week
I should
under
write
old
that story.
business. Yes?
Yeah, I can bring this back to you at the next meeting for your consideration, and if you approve the language, then we can move forward to the city council for their consideration.
Right, because this ordinance was changed once before to add the word beautification.
At
to it.
least once before. These ordinances they're changed and amended as.
Hooray. Members' matters.
Yes. Okay, I have a few.
Gee, what a surprise.
You're right. It's okay. It's all right. I have broad shoulders. I can take it. I was a middle child, so that set me up for this. So I want to go back and revisit. Of course, this happened just a couple of days ago with the paperwork that Rita so nicely included. The mural artist for the St. Helens walls actually contacted me, so I had talked with him, and then I kind of shelved it because he said, no, I'm really busy, it's going to be within the next year or so, and he came to me and he said, I want to do this ASAP, and I'm like, okay, well, let's try to do this. So I emailed Monty Falls, he emailed me right back, he sent the paperwork, which is a permit that has to be done, it's a free permit.
Yep.
The artist does that, the artist's name is Christopher Sweeney. This is ideas of what his artwork is, his mural stuff is, and those are the walls at St. Helens. I call them the walls, but I don't know what else to call them.
I know what you...
I told him for the best benefit of the project, I would personally do both sides, and he said absolutely. He's like crazy to do this now. He's like, I want to do this. He has an art show coming up at Gallery 14 on October 5th, so we kind of wanted to start this. It's also the traffic in that area, Victory, that's why they put those stop signs in. I live right down the street to stop the traffic because there's so many cars just whizzing by. So that'll be good for him too, for his notoriety.
Does he need to?
Pressure washed?
No, because I don't do that, but I can weed eat a little bit.
Well, you know
Clear
what?
out the wall space. I have one question for you.
Go ahead.
In your letter here, you're asking for the commission's approval. I don't think we can approve an artist. Because beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
No, as far as the project goes, did I not word it right?
This has nothing to do with their funding mechanism. This is a city administrative function.
Is he doing it for free? No?
No, that was my next thing. So he wants like some kind of donation, for the
I think it's a great project, but I don't think we can approve an artist, can we?
Well, hold on, let's back it up. Can you give us any more information here about what do you mean by he was requesting a donation from the city?
For the paints. So I came up with the idea to do the walls because I thought they were hideous. Just something, for beautification, because we have beautification on our commission. And so I saw some of his murals. I also saw the art club's mural, the hibiscus one down over by the old power plant. I went to the art club and they said, well, we did that as a city thing, blah, blah, blah. How much are you going to pay us? And I'm like, well, I'm just thinking about it. I'm just starting, this wall is whatever. We're in beautification as well as trees too. Let me start talking with people. And then I met him and he said, that's what I'm trying to do. He went to school in Jacksonville. That's what I'm just trying to do for cities. It's just a personal project of his. Also, he does it for money. He's the art teacher now. This year he just started at Beachland Elementary School. So I said, would you consider doing these walls? And I don't know how to thread it in with the beautification project for us to have another project. And he said, absolutely. And I said, how much does something like this cost?
There you go.
So he said to me, his original one, or one of the ones that he just did, not original, was $2,260. So I said, okay, well, I have to tell you, we don't have that kind of money. We have nowhere near that kind of money. What are we talking about reasonably? And he said, well, could you give me some kind of a donation to cover my time and my paints? And I said, okay, what would that amount be? And he said, I'll leave that up to you. So that's what I bring to you. I mean, is it $200? I know we have 700 and something in that fund, 769. I mean, do we want to spend $200 or $300 to beautify that mural?
What you can do is make a recommendation to the city council to make a donation up to the amount that you have here, and the city council can either approve it or
I'd be hesitant to donate our entire funds.
No, right. I was thinking a couple hundred. And the other thing I said to him in the last email that I talked with him was, of course, you know, I told you we don't have that kind of money. I mean, I'm looking at a couple $100, honestly.
What did he say?
He said, you figure that out. He said, I really want to do this wall because I think one of the things with it, in all honesty, is he's going to get a lot of traffic from that wall. I mean, if he got $2,260 for one mural, he did the one on Patisseries Wall, he did the one right across from, on the corner of Taco Dive, which is where the Arts Village is, that's him. People walk up to that all day long and take their picture next to it. He's just trying, that's his message. Most of it is love. He's got that robot. He has a coloring book now that he does with the kids in his art classes for the XO robot, so the Love and Kisses robot. I mean, his message is phenomenal. I think it's all about community pride and you know, whatever. I think it's worth a couple $100, my own personal self. That's why I've really kind of chased him down.
I have a couple of thoughts, maybe.
Please.
All right, St. Helens is right there. Should we check with them, or just as a courtesy say, you know, we're looking at doing this, we'd like your input? Or there are a couple, I go back and forth to the library all the time, so I drive by there, you know, almost every day. There's several houses on that corner there.
Well, there's the nursing home, and then, what is it, Cox Gifford? And then on the other side there are, yeah.
Right. I mean, as a courtesy, shouldn't we at least talk to someone? I mean, that's what you're supposed to do with a fence. So, you know, as a courtesy, talk to your neighbors before you install it. This is, to me, would be that same kind of thing, wouldn't it?
Is it our project? Is that the idea?
Well, that's what I was trying to make it. I mean, he's looking for projects in the city, and I said, well, if we can tie this together, I mean, what does it matter if it's a couple $100 for the paint? I mean, you know, will he do it for free? I mean, I don't know. That part I don't know. If it's the money that's the object.
What I'd like to suggest is, this is our project. We need to see a glimpse of what he's going to put on the wall before he does.
Well, that's why I gave you these.
No,
These are
his actual conception for that wall, the rendering.
Okay.
That way we're not approving some unknown piece of art. The art goes up and we're caught in the middle of a maelstrom.
Okay.
The Arts Village, Main Street Vero Beach, the Chambers, any number of people would probably jump at, or at least be interested in contributing in some way to a project like this because of the exposure. The Hibiscus Festival, I mean, there's so much that point touches. So, and I agree.
As far as money-wise or
Yeah,
people-wise?
get them to contribute to it. If we're going to take the banner up for it, we could lead those conversations with those people and just try to come up with that, whatever money is needed to accomplish it if we want it. If we want to pursue it. There are a lot of people that would be interested in that. 20th Avenue is a part, or very fringely, a part of the Cultural Arts Village specifically. And you've got Bolero right there, Bolero and Bolero that would be interested. The Schlitz attend there heavily at the church, so they would be very interested, I think, in perhaps participating. So this is something that could get done, but I'm with Chris on controlling the message, controlling the...
Well, that's why I put these examples of it.
I want to see the message.
Yeah.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
So he can make a rendering of the wall and what he...
Well, what he does is he'll look at whatever his application is, or,
his canvas.
Right, his canvas. And then he envisions as he's doing it, but these are the ones that he's done all along. So that specific one, do I know that he's going to do XO Love?
Well, that's what we need to know.
Okay.
It's going to be our project.
Okay. I think the other thing with him too is the time frame, so this won't work in the time frame, but again, I mean, I thought I had a year to work on it. He just came back to me and said, I want to do this ASAP. I'm like, I'll do the best I can.
But you have to get approval by the city council.
Oh, correct.
Yeah, Colonel Young would be
I
very
knew
interested
that.
in this.
Yeah, I knew that.
And we got to see what it's going to look like.
And you're right, you might, even approach Cox Gifford. They might.
Oh, yeah, big time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but you're right. It's their
view.
It's their community. Yeah. It's it's their backyard or side yard or whatever. So you need to show them the courtesy at least.
Yeah. And they might want to
control of the image.
Yeah.
Well, when you get into controlling the image, I'm going to tell you that right now, because he told me that now you're looking at $3,000. Because if they want a certain thing, you know, he said that.
Can I make a comment?
Of course you
Yes.
may. We welcome it. This is a rarity.
We just did a mural at our Audubon house. It was about 47
Yeah, that's, yeah.
7 feet wide and about 12 feet high.
Wow.
And Deanna DeRosa did it. She's actually a student now out in California, but she did a wonderful job. We got the Smith's paint store to give us the paint at cost, and actually they threw in a lot of free paint for us.
Oh, at Don Smith's?
The whole thing, yeah.
Okay.
So that's another
You know, these are all good ideas. Like I said, I told him I'd bring it today. I didn't know it was going to happen this quick, so yeah.
I would have a drawing of it
Yeah, you
done.
know what it's going to look like.
Just to make
Just so
sure
you
that
can show the people.
Yeah.
what it's supposed to be, and you can then see it develop. After, if you approve it, you can see how it's developing. That's even interesting to the public to watch it. It took a year for her to get the thing done. And she had a whole bunch of animals in it, and she went around and visiting 7 or 8 different scientists, and what are the animals and plants found in the Oslo Riverfront Conservation Area. And then she came up with a list of 70 of the most important, or the important ones.
Yeah,
and
that's
then
a great
she put that in there. And she starts out with a scrub area, a hammock area, and a wetlands area. And so it's kind of it's an educational tool.
It is.
So I mean, you can. I love the idea of murals. I think this could
Right,
be.
well, that's what he is.
too.
Yeah, that's what he is.
And, but, you know, you've got, you know, there's a diverse corner right there of the funeral home and the church and, you know.
Churches.
Yeah, it is, so it is,
Old Town.
Well, that's why I think this is one of the reasons why I kind of picked him, because his message is just with these pictures, love and peace and whatever. I mean, I don't think that's going to offend anyone at all. But again.
Yeah, I understand.
No, I'm listening. I mean, I'm listening.
Sometimes what you think is one way, another person thinks is another way, you know what I mean?
No, I get it.
I remember.
I get it.
When they wanted to do the racquetball at Riverside,
The wall for racquetball courts.
it became quite the thing.
Wow.
I remember beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Beautiful, did nice job.
It's beautiful, but there was a lot of discussion on it.
Over in the beach, yeah. Well, like I said, I'm listening. You know, I'll go back to him. That's all I can tell him is
But I
what
think-
we're talking
I think
about.
Clearly, you want to see what the image is
Yeah,
before it gets painted.
or at least a vision of the image.
Right.
Well, I mean, the other side to it is if we get that much, you have some good ideas, Neil, donations. I mean, if he's going to charge $2,500 or $3,000, then we get to say whatever we want in the thing. It's just covering
Because
his.
you're commissioning the work of art.
Exactly. Yes, yes.
Correct.
If you
So that's
pay
where
for it, then you have the say in what it, yes.
That's where I went back to when I did some research of the area. It used to be farms and it was all cows walking up and down, and I thought that was the coolest thing.
More farm oriented.
Yeah, and he said, well, if you do that, then that's going to be a commission. It's not going to be.
And that would be cool.
I thought it was myself personally, but that's just, I
Got the history of Vero too. You could,
I was going to say,
That's
Centennial.
Yeah.
100th anniversary.
Yeah.
well, with the cows and all that,
Well,
Cows and
whatever
citrus
the
and-
history is.
right, that's what I found in that place,
Where's Waldo?
right.
They have the
Well, and a
baseball.
lot of that area was citrus too.
Yeah.
So that's.
Of course, you're limited by the size of.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you got both sides. I said you have to do both sides.
Oh,
I
yeah.
can't think you can do one. To me, it just looks unfinished if
Oh,
you do
no.
one side.
Yeah.
Okay, well then I'll go back and I'll tell him that stuff. I mean, it's all valid ideas and things that have to be done, and I think it'll look better than that. But that's my personal opinion. You know what I mean?
$2,000 is reasonable.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, very.
And
Oh yeah, it is. I actually thought it was.
You should be able to find $2,000. You should be able to find $500.
In this
What
town?
we were talking about earlier.
Right.
I mean, this,
Right.
you should have a better budget.
Well, like I said, I thought it was going to be, I know that. I thought it was going to be, like a 9 months or a year I was going to have to, I didn't know it was going to be 10 days and he just wanted to do it. But, it is what it is. Bureaucracy is bureaucracy. And you want to have a better product because so many people are going to see it. I think.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of traffic there. Even the kids lining up to go home from school at St. Helens.
And you're stopped there at the light, too, so.
Always.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, good ideas. I'm glad. That's why I brought it up.
So do you try to fundraise first and get a budget before
I
you?
think that you get the division on paper so that you have something to fundraise. We're not commissioning Michelangelo.
No, and the art club is interested in it as well, but their first thing was, how much is this going to pay? That was the first thing they did say. So if I can fundraise for that, well, then that knocks that nut off and turn around and say, well, we're going to leave it open for other people and not just one artist, you know? Yeah, money talks, it always does, right?
Yep.
Okay, so the other thing that I have too, and this is hopefully, this will get our message out there too, because I haven't forgotten about this. I've been working a lot of stuff my own personal self, is I still do want to get the program going at the library, where I'll go over and do the first one to get our message out there of who we are, the Tree and Beautification Commission, and I think definitely want to do it. And I'm thinking January would probably be my time frame where I could possibly put something together to do it, maybe December, and then also work in our Tree and Beautification weekend to give some notoriety and give some information about that.
Thank you.
Okay, so I am working on that, and the other thing that I'm working on, and I'm going to write the story because I did talk with News Weekly, and they said yes, they put the little thing in the other pages where they're not paid, is about the trees that we planted at the cemetery. I have the pictures to write a little story about that, and then ongoing about whatever stuff that we're doing. The centennial stuff. I am still working on that.
That'd be good, because good PR at this time and point in the city's life is a bonus.
Yeah.
Any other member matters?
Yeah, I had a question. Several months ago, you talked about wanting to do some walks in the parks.
Yes, like the educational tree plantings.
Right. Did you have any ideas for that specifically, or?
There was a sketch made, a very simple sketch that Nanette has.
I have it.
And the idea was taking a pre-existing park like Charles Park, where there's already a walking trail, where there's already water, and planting some native trees or shrubs that could be educational, so that as someone's walking the trail, there's a small tree with a plaque that says, this is native Florida coffee, its benefits are blah, 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 blah.
Well, I'm in Native Plant Society, and I do walks with several groups, and so I know people who would possibly be willing to lead walks like that under circumstances. I mean,
Well, what I would suggest then is that you not chair the subject, but command the subject with Nanette and keep it on the agenda.
Okay.
So you mind if we keep that coming back up on the agenda? It's not a huge expense, it's just something to draw the public in.
No, we just have to talk about,
Where and when and how much.
and getting signage and stuff. You know, because you want to have, don't you want to have signage?
Oh yeah, you gotta have a little plaque.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little polymer plaque. Nothing made out of bronze.
Well, I did a walk on Tuesday with a group up in Sebastian, and there were some new people who just moved down here who had no clue what was what, and we were out in a scrub, so they were learning natives.
Right.
Yeah.
And so there are lots of us that are interested in those things, and
Well, then I suggest you're the perfect person to carry this forward.
okay.
And we have a lot, you know, between Charles and South Beach, there is a number already, and we can introduce some more. And in fact, even going out at Riverside in the Little Flower, there's a lot. So we can already, we can identify what's out there and look at, I have a catalog that has some pricing for some little plaques and, you know.
Oh, okay.
And wasn't there a point in time that we were looking into funding that included the ability to do plaques and
That's what I thought. I was
signage?
just thinking
Long time ago, we got the funding that you apply for every couple of years for a grant.
You know what, it's back here in the back of my mind. that
Yeah,
we
I want to
looked for
say we
something
did.
like that.
Yeah.
I don't know what we were talking about, though. But there's there's companies out there that do the little,
Right.
you know, it just, now, when you're talking about just doing the scientific name, you want to have the scientific name and the common name, but when you're talking about what its qualities are and what
Yeah.
it's good for, then you're talking about a little bit larger.
Yeah, 5 by 7.
I think
Yeah.
you need that, though, yeah.
Because if it's just a name, then you're a botanical garden.
Yeah, I think you
Yeah,
need that.
that, I mean, it gets a little bit pricier when you're doing its medicinal qualities or its food qualities or something like that, but I'll look into it and see how much that kind of stuff costs. Because I don't know if that's something that the funding that the tree commission has would pay for. I'm not so sure, so we'll have to
Figure it out.
yeah.
You know, I thought of something too, just to go back on what I was talking about with the meetings, and I forgot to say this, is at those meetings, if I do them at the library, we'll have to come up, we'll have to talk about it more, come up with it at a certain time, like it would be 4 times a year, 5 times a year. Could we, as the commission, give away, say, like 3 trees and a drawing to people that come to those meetings?
You don't have 3 trees.
No, I mean, if we,
If you got them donated, yes, as long as we didn't spend our money, because they're going to go on a private piece of property.
Richard, would you be willing to
What if-
donate some of those little trees?
well, I mean, if we had 3 from our fund, because we can spend money for trees to give
Yeah,
away
but-
as goodwill kind of a thing to.
But they got to be planted on city property, correct?
Well, your tree giveaway program
Is a donation by a vendor.
is a donation by a vendor. All right, so now we're looking back at this ordinance.
Because I'm going back to what you're saying about, you know, what the city's doing good for the people, blah, 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 blah. I mean,
All amounts paid into the fund, and this is your $55,000 fund.
right.
Shall be reserved solely for the removal of invasive plants, the purchase, relocation, planting, or maintenance of trees and palms on public property and rights of way within the city.
Okay, so it could only go to people if we did that lived in the city.
No,
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 this is
you-
intended for city property.
city property, public property.
Yeah, it's only for trees planted on city property.
Go ahead.
One more
Right.
comment. In our 100,000 tree project, we're going to be putting in for an impact $100,000 grant, and it's going to be $100,000 for 100,000 trees for the 100th anniversary of Vero Beach. That's kind of the title of the thing.
Okay.
We will get, if we get that, we will be able to provide you trees.
Okay. Well, I'm just thinking it's a goodwill thing, where you go in and learn about trees and whatever. Here's.
We will be happy to put your trees wherever you want them
Okay.
in the
Well,
county.
then I'll keep you in my back pocket then. for
Okay.
that then. Okay. Done. I like to, that's done.
Okay, any more member matters? Hearing none, next meeting is October 18th, 2018. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
I second, yeah.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Meeting adjourned.
Yeah.